He may be just joining. I just saw his name pop up.
Oh, good. Okay. Good. Mr. Cisco, you're here. See, the fact that he's with Cisco, he has an aversion to Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking
I can understand that.
If I can't figure out the technology, I know Dave will save me.
Yeah. So this is his way of getting back at Zoom by saying, you know what, it's really not working for me.
You got me.
There's the laugh.
You know, we should be using WebEx, Mark. You know.
Yeah,
I love your laugh.
I think so.
Thanks, man. Good to hear you guys' voices.
Yeah, likewise. Happy Friday. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started because we have a full agenda, and as people join us, we'll be able to notice that and see that on the chat. And so, welcome everyone. Appreciate you guys making the time. Those of you who are not part of the W2, we're excited to have you as part of this time with us. Just to reiterate a little bit about the purpose of this whole call here for us, and Melissa's put the slide up. Let me just check. Can everybody see the slide that Melissa has put up?
Yes.
It's a bit fuzzy for me. Is that anybody else?
No, it's fuzzy for me too, but
okay.
I think it just takes.
There we go.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to adjust. If we were on WebEx, this wouldn't happen. But I'm just kidding. That's for you, Dave.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So the purpose of these calls is for us not only to connect as we all long to be together, but to do it around a purpose of saying, how does the work that we've done over the last 8 months really show up in real life? And what have we learned about that? And what have we learned about how it has caused our lives to create greater value? And where has that worked? What challenges do we have? What have we learned? So the method that we're going to be using for that is, it's with each one of our groups, is that there's this learning event. Each person in the team is going to get to host us with things in their lives over the last 8 months that represent results and learnings and experiences in a fun and engaging way. So the outcome of this, we're really asking, if you remember, we talked about in the last program the concept of what does it mean to be generative versus consumptive? And we can be on this call in a way that's very consumptive, and that produces something. We get something out of it. But we also generate more. But when we have a mindset of generative, especially for ourselves, what is there that where I can seek out and search for value for myself? We find ourselves getting more out of it, and the people who actually are presenting can tell when people are listening from a perspective of being generative. So my request is that as we are listening to these presentations, that we do so in a way that is actually listening for what we may not know, and everybody can walk away with the idea that there's at least one thing that that I learned, and one thing that I'm going to take away that matters to me. So that's the goal. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Melissa, and she's going to talk through a little how this is going to work for us.
Great, thanks, Ron. So each person will have 7 minutes for their presentation, and those 7 minutes go by really fast. So just maybe keep in mind to to keep moving through your slides so you get everything in that you want to say. And once your presentation is done, there'll be 3 minutes for questions and comments from the group. I suggest that you open the PowerPoint presentation, your PowerPoint presentation on your desktop so that when you get ready to be the presenter, it'll be right there open and ready to go. And in order to do that, when it's your turn, at the bottom of your screen, you probably see some icons along the bottom, one of them being share screen. And so when you click on that little icon, a toolbar will, a window will pop up, and you'll see your desktop. You can select your presentation, and then on the bottom right-hand corner, it'll say share. There's a button that says share screen. So once you select that, the rest of us will be able to see your presentation. And you're totally in control of your slides, so you can advance them when you're ready. As mentioned earlier, we are recording all the sessions, and I'll be sharing a link with everyone for future access. So as each team is making presentations, I'm sharing the link to that team, and after all 4 teams have presented, I'll share the link to the entire cohort so you have access to everyone's presentation. You may have already found the chat button so that there's instant messaging available. If you hit the little dialogue or conversation bubble icon, the chat box will show up in the lower right hand corner, I think. Maybe I just put mine there, I'm not sure. But from that you can message the entire group at any point, or there's a drop down menu and you can message someone privately if you want to do that. Our request is that we all put our phones on mute while others are presenting so we don't hear any kitty cats or puppy dogs barking in the background if you're at home, or typing on your keyboard if you're at your desk. So with that, Team W2, you can think about who might want to go first, or Ron can just direct it, but we're ready to go when you are.
Well, we will take some volunteers, but just before we do that, in the spirit of making sure that we are present and to what is going to be contributed to us in just a minute here, while W2 is figuring out who wants to go first, I'd like us just to take a minute to pause and to presence ourselves. So regardless of where you are and where you're finding yourself, I would like for you to just, if you're standing, find yourself centered on both feet. If you're sitting in your chair, find yourself in your chair and find the spot that's comfortable for you. And let's just take a moment to get present to this, to where we are right now. So go ahead and what I'd like you to do is just, as you're in your chair, find yourself feeling the gravity pulling you down, relaxing yourself, feeling very comfortable in your chair. And I'd like you to take in 3 really good breaths and make sure you exhale as well. Don't just take them in. And as you exhale, just let go of everything else that is currently pressing you for time and energy. And as you breathe in thinking about this team, thinking about being available and listening. And being present. And with that, who would like to go first in W2?
I'm happy to go.
Okay. So it looks like you have taken control there, my friend.
You're the best, John.
Let's see.
Okay, so John, you're going to be going, and it looks like you've got things up there for us. So when you're ready, go ahead and start.
Okay. So I'm just going to work through about 5 or so slides. The first one, I thought it'd be good to just start off with my purpose, which is dedicated all-in navigator, securing your important future by turning the insurmountable into tangible achievements that lead to wow. Thank you, Dad. I think every time I look at that, that's a huge takeaway for me, just to have identified my purpose. So to start off, I guess when I embarked on the CII program, I knew I wasn't getting the results I wanted as a leader within my company, but I didn't know why. I just knew that I wasn't getting the results I wanted, and so I knew I needed an opportunity for personal growth. And when I look back on that, there were several factors that had to happen for me to achieve that. And so I just wrote a string of words there, and the first was a catalyst. And really, I have to say that was from Jim Matroni. He was one that encouraged me to do the program. And about a day or so before I left for Colorado for the first session, he sent me an email and he said, if you really want to get a lot out of this program, you have to really put yourself out there. And he said, if you're not uncomfortable, if your hands aren't sweating a little bit, you're not putting yourself out there enough. And I trust Jim. I like Jim. He's a good friend. I thought, boy, if he's telling me that, I better listen. And so I took that to heart, and I went to Colorado with that in mind. And really the thing for me was to have the courage to step up and to fully participate. The other thing that had to happen was I had to have an environment where that was allowed me to be successful. And I think the environment of Colorado, the horses and the whole cohort and all the coaches and everybody really allowed that to happen. And then I sort of threw some more courage, because once I got there, I thought, boy, do I really have enough courage to do this? And I had to dig deep and keep finding that courage to show up every day and engage with the group and really put myself out there. And I had to have that environment of safety where I felt like when I did put myself out there, that it was a safe environment. And that really, as things went on with Team W2, I really felt more and more safety with all of you guys to encourage me to be there, to let me explore and to be safe doing that. And the encouragement I got from Dave and Meg and Laney and Ron and everybody really, I think, led me to see results with the program. So I just want to start off with that acknowledgement and how I went through this process. So let's see if I can get this to advance here. Okay, so the first section, credibility, the two things that I took away from that as a focus was being present and really focusing on just breathing. I realized that I breathed shallowly a lot. And this other aspect that came to light was being curious. I forgot who said it during the process, but somebody mentioned listen to learn, and that really sunk in deep with me. I thought, I'm listening more to contribute. I'm not listening to learn. And am I asking questions because I'm genuinely curious, or am I just asking questions because I want to get to a solution? And so those two things really helped me with that first credibility session. The outcomes I got from that, I said achieving a higher presence gave me reason to pause. And I think that word pause was huge for me. And I realized I didn't slow down to pause ever, except for when I went to sleep. And I've used that in a lot of situations where if something is feeling like I'm getting anxious or tensions are getting high, I just tell myself it's okay to take a pause, and things all of a sudden become more clear. And now I use that with other folks as well. When they come in upset about a situation or irritated with a coworker, I say, hey, let's just take a pause for a second. And it's amazing. It works across the board. Even I often tell supervisors and managers now, if you have a situation with an employee, it's okay to park somebody and say, I'm going to take a pause and I'll come back. And as leaders, I'm seeing people use that tool, and it's really cool. The other thing that really allowed me to do is it allowed me to see that I suffer from the smartest person in the room issue. Confucius said, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And I built my career on being the smartest person, and as a leader, that it doesn't work anymore. So the credibility session really allowed me to discover that I was suffering from that issue. So a couple of success stories. One is one of my direct reports, a guy named McKee, our production manager. We had during our interview after the credibility session, before we went back to Colorado for the second session, I interviewed him, and he said, you know, one of the biggest changes I've seen in you just in the last short while is that, he said, I feel like that you trust me to take risks. And he said, before I always felt like I had to justify my decisions and I had to worry about whether or not you were going to approve what I wanted to do. And he said, now all of a sudden you're looking at me and I feel like you're trusting me to take risks. So that was a really huge success for me, to just get some acknowledgement that my pause and my clarity and not being the smartest person in the discussion, I helped him see some growth and helped him see some pride in what he was doing in his job. The other cool thing for me personally was I had surgery in November on my shoulder, and while I was in the sort of the pre-op area, I was feeling a lot of anxiety, and I just started to focus on my breath, and my heart rate came down. They had me hooked up to the machine. My blood pressure came down, and the nurse came in and said, wow, this is pretty cool. Aren't you feeling really anxious? And I said, not anymore. And it was just that amazing power of breath. So that was cool. On the impact side, in terms of focus areas, obviously focusing on discovering shtick and purpose, I think, for all of us, but that was a key area for me. And then after we left, recognizing shtick and being able to learn to pivot to purpose was a big focus for me. And then just constantly telling myself that my shtick wasn't necessarily who I am. It just was something that developed over time, and it really didn't have a purpose any longer. And so those three things allowed me to develop learning and have outcomes through this process. So the thing that I learned the most about was that shtick really put me in a defense mode, which, you know, I saw how much damage that defensiveness was causing in terms of negative impact. And then the other thing was that I learned that it's a point in my career where I don't need to see value in doing anymore. I need to see value in leading. So making that pivot to my purpose really helped highlight that doer versus leader mentality, and that's been huge. In terms of success stories, I think the key success with this session was working with Team W2 on shtick and purpose. I really got more courage through that process when I saw and heard Dave talk about being vulnerable, about talking about the things that he struggled with his dad, and his dad not going to basketball games. And I saw that it's like, wow, if Dave can be vulnerable and put himself out there, then so can I. Lainey was talking about some of her, you know, not feeling like she had a voice, and sitting there saying, but I've heard your voice, and just seeing her come to life and see that spark to life, again, encouraged me to be courageous and to see that how I could best use my voice. And then, of course, Meg, she has just that warm spirit, and to see that how her shtick, you know, how she covers up her concerns through her shtick, but yet we know the power of her purpose is that warmth and contagious energy that she has. So I really learned from my team through that process, and that was really gave me, again, another boost of courage to keep doing the good work, to see that I could use learning for my benefit and for the benefit of people I know and care about. A couple other company deals for successes. I had this Army grant proposal, and at the time I was trying to do I shouldn't be the smartest person. I should sit back. I should lead. And what I realized was that people didn't want me to take a back seat. What they wanted me to do was to follow my purpose and to help navigate the big picture and digest it into something that people could chew on and act on. And so through this process, we had this big grant to do, and I said, I'm not going to do it personally. I'm going to let other people do it. And they kind of stumbled a little bit until I took the time to boil this whole process down into pieces. And then I let people volunteer for the pieces, and I showed them the path, and then they took the work and did it all. And so it was a great example of me living my purpose and seeing the success of others, and seeing people really, once they knew the piece they could own, they took it and they ran with it, and then I gave them encouragement that they did a good job. It was really fun. On the company meetings piece, I do a presentation every month to our whole company, and it used to always be just me, and I realized I needed to share that. And now I do a company meeting, and I pull in people from finance, from engineering, from facilities, from production, and they give updates, and they get to stand in front of everybody, and I'm leading instead of doing. And it's just another key success from my focus areas on impact. The last piece was the influence portion. And again, I had a couple of focus areas. The first one was combining sort of awareness, purpose, and connections to achieve more with, I love this, less time, money, and stress. And being more open to see more and appreciate more from my connections. Seeing how my interactions with people either shut them down or allowed them to grow. Those were the key areas here. And the outcomes and learning, this whole concept for me about awareness is extremely powerful. And I think the more I've become aware, the more I'm impressed with how much I was missing before. It's just amazing to see things in a different light. And awareness is really what's brought that. Again, the wider my circle of awareness, the more I see potential. And it's eye-opening, I guess, is the best I can say. So success stories here, again, connecting to my team. I think in terms of W2, the initial calls, I felt like I was taking from the calls. And over the last couple of months, I really feel like when I'm on the calls, that I have an obligation to contribute to Dave, Meg, and Laney, and that I'm not just there to take for my own benefit. And that it just changes my outlook on my interactions with my team. And so I really feel, I think part of that is that I felt incredible support from Dave, Laney, and Megan, and certainly tons of support from you, Ron. It's been unique to feel that people care about me and that they encourage me and want to see me succeed. So thank you very much for all of that. This Real Mom, I'm sure that sounds weird, but we make medical training models, and Real Mom is a birthing trainer that I landed the business back in December. Normally I would have gone into my shtick mode and managed the project, even though it's not in my job title anymore, but instead I took the opportunity to step back and encourage some growth with one of our engineers. He took it on as a project, and it's just been amazing. The team's success on this has been incredible, and I know we would have successfully delivered to the customer because I would have drove it like I normally did, but the success has been much sweeter on this project because so many people have been involved in taking a leadership role in this project. And all along the way, I've given accolades to the people who have contributed, and you just see their faces light up and shine, and they're there to do more. So that's been just a phenomenal success. And I just put turning over the reins to others in so many ways. I've released my need to control a situation and just given ownership to people where it belongs, and just given it with trust and encouragement and support, and people are rising to the occasion, and it's just phenomenal. So I'm so happy to see some of these, all of my learnings from CII coming to fruition through the successes I'm seeing.
Great.
So last slide, I just wanted to end with the whole spur and support each other, transform ourselves, inspire purposeful communities. I think that's just such an incredible purpose statement that we came up with for the whole cohort. And I just want to say thank you to my team, to the entire cohort, all the coaches, Ron, Robin, Roger, Richard, and of course Mickey, and last but not least, my family and everybody here at work that's helped me on my growth journey. So the picture on the bottom left is my son, who's now, he says he's taller than me, but that picture looks like I'm really taller. But really the measurements today. In the middle is my girlfriend Jen out in the water, which is my happy place, and in the upper right is my mom over Christmas time. So that's it. How'd I do on time?
Well,
Awesome.
thank you, John. Thank you. Well, yeah, appreciate that. And I'm going to open it up just for a couple minutes here for questions. If anybody has anything that they'd like to ask John at this point.
Hey, John, it's Dave. I really resonated with the empowering. I love how you shared about empowering others, like the town hall or all hands type meetings, or even some of these projects. How do you remind yourself, when you feel like maybe you're starting to dive into doing? How do you remind yourself to step back and empower others? Do you have any little tips there?
Yeah, Dave, it's some days it's been really hard. On that Real Mom project, I went into full shtick mode one day, and I was just about to chew people out because they were late. And for some reason, I just stopped and I thought, what are you doing? Is that going to lead to success? And I reached out and talked to Ron, and he helped me talk through it and what I should do. And so I don't have any tips and tricks. It's just practice. And I think it's one of those things, the more success I see, the more I'm aware, and it's a self-propelling prophecy. I wish I had a great tip or trick. I think I still do breathing, maybe not every day, but at least every other day I spend some time sitting and pausing and just thinking about what I have on my plate and how important things are and how some things I think are important and aren't. And that just helps bring clarity to me. So that's all I can say is I've practiced, and the more it works, the more I see the benefits. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
John, I wanted to just say what really resonated to, and this maybe goes on to what Dave was asking, the fact that you take a pause, and you take a pause with other people. I think sometimes, we can get ourselves to pause, but to get others to do it with you and just really focus in on what you're trying to do, I think that's amazing. And I'm gonna think about that and try and do that, because we tend to be a bit chaotic around our office, as Ron knows, and pausing is a really good word, I think, and maybe a really good tool.
It's really funny, Meg. I've done this in situations before, and I've said, how about if we just take a pause? And nobody goes, screw you, what do you mean? They just go, oh yeah, they just go, yeah, that's probably a smart thing to do. You don't even have to educate them on why. If you just say, let's take a moment to pause. And they kind of go, oh, that means I should like stop and breathe and think about it.
Yeah.
And so it's just amazing, just the word pause. It's powerful in itself. And it sure works, because people within 30 seconds have a different mindset. They let go of that amygdala response, and they just, it's like their brain takes back over. So
that's great.
That's great. I like that a lot.
Well, thank you, John. This has been really helpful, and I want to just do a really quick little adjust before we move into the next section. As you can see, time goes by really, really quick, and that was probably about almost 15 minutes as opposed to 7. So we're gonna
holy smokes.
We'll be here until like we got a kind of a hard stop in an hour and a half here. So, and I know Elizabeth is getting her hair done. So I mean, we don't want the wrong color to come out here. So.
No, we don't.
So
I'm beauty school dropout right here.
Yeah. So let's just,
another great movie.
Would it be helpful if Mel gives us a 2-minute warning? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That'd be,
okay.
Yeah, I thought I was talking fast. So.
Hey, John, it was great. We enjoyed it, and it was valuable. So thank you very much. So who would like to?
I can go.
Okay, Dave, you go.
Oh, did you do it? You shared.
Dave, the only other thing I would like to say is I couldn't tell, and let's just do this adjust right now, but as the slides were being shown, was everybody seeing the slides advance, or were you just seeing the main slide?
I could see the slides
Just
advance,
the
but I
main
could.
one.
My main one wouldn't move, but the one in the corner was moving.
Yeah, so let's try maybe not doing this on slideshow and just.
Oh, Dave, you're driving fast.
Yeah, and just make that as large as it can be, but I think maybe because it was on slideshow, we could only see the. We saw we saw it, but it was in little pictures in the corner. So that's great.
Great
No,
picture. Where'd it go?
Oh shoot! Is it showing? Sorry, why my laptop is thinking.
Oh, there it is.
It's not, Dave. It's WebEx. It's the deal.
Okay, I think I'm up. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Yep.
And can you see it in the right mode or?
Yep.
Yes.
Looks good.
All right. Thank you. I guess I just want to start by just sharing my appreciation for the Conversant program, the coaches, Ron coaching our team, and then Team W2 with John Laney and Meg. And then also thank you, Elizabeth and Jeff, for joining, and the entire cohort. This program has been very impactful in my life, and it's a journey. I'm on a journey. I have a ways to go, but I see where I've made a difference in my marriage, in the relationship with my children, and at work. And so I just wanted to start by sharing that. And it's not natural for me to share appreciation, and that's one of my focus areas. And so I still have a lot more practice to do, but that's definitely one of my top focus areas. When I joined Conversant, the reason I came to the program was because as I've grown in my career, my scope has grown, and I've struggled to be able to keep on top of everything like I did when I had less responsibility. And also I started to get into situations of more and more ambiguity where I wasn't a subject matter expert, but I was expected to participate and add value. And so one of the key learnings for me has been to let go of feeling like I have to be in every detail and know all the facts and data and insights, and learn these conversant skills of engaging with others, asking questions, being curious, to engage in any dialogue, whether I'm a subject matter expert or not a subject matter expert, and be able to participate and add value. And I think through this program, through these last 8 months, I'm much more successful in letting go of things, and in leading and being comfortable in situations of ambiguity. So let me share. So, I mean, the first thing for me is, with Conversant taught me, it all starts with me. And I think at times in the past, I can think of situations where, I was in bioreaction and I'm thinking, oh man, this person did this and it's affecting me, and I'm not taking ownership of that. I'm looking at, kind of a victim's mentality of, because this person did this thing, it's affecting me. So I think that's really, for me, one of the key takeaways is it all starts with me. And I'm gonna have bioreactions. There's no avoiding bioreactions, but raising awareness to my shtick, raising awareness to what triggers me into a bioreaction, and then being in a situation where then I have a choice. And am I gonna choose shtick Dave, or am I gonna let that bioreaction go, or am I gonna pick a purpose? And I think that's really important lesson is around choices. We have choices, and sometimes a choice is not speaking up or speaking up, and learning to take that accountability and that ownership of myself and how I'm showing up, and making those choices has been key. From there, I can only be my best self if I'm present. And thanks for the reminder, John, on breathing. I have to say I probably have fallen off the breathing habit or practice, and something I need to reinstitute, reinvigorate. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me with being present is just the busyness. And kind of as I alluded when I started the presentation, I actually had this fear of not knowing everything. Like I wanted to be the person that people would come to for answers or for insights, and to be that subject matter expert. And I hung on to that, for a long time. And what I learned through Conversant is I'm actually sabotaging myself. I'm
a minute
spending
and a half, Dave. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. A minute and a half left?
Yes.
Okay. Wow, that goes fast. I'm actually sabotaging myself by taking all the time that I took to be in so many details that I didn't really need to know. Or if I needed to know, I could always reach out and find that information. So that's been a key for me, is to let go of the busyness, not dive into all the details, because there were 90% of the time I didn't need to know, but I was consuming my energy and my time by digging in. And then from there with Conversant, learning about the balance of the physical, the emotional, and the mental, and the breathing and taking care of ourselves physically, is really critical to being balanced, being centered, and it starts with me. And if I'm centered, then I can be my best self. And the emotional side has been challenging, where and it's part of my shtick is suppressing my emotions, and being able to articulate my emotions is a challenge. And that's been a leadership focus, where I really am trying to stay in tune with and aware of the emotions of the moment, and to be able to connect on a human level, to inspire, to motivate, and as an integral part of leadership. So this is a picture of the extended team, and what I learned was my energy has an impact on others. So first it's about me, but then it's also recognizing how my energy. In fact, one of the ladies in this picture messaged me one day. We were on a call. She's like, "Dave, you look really tired. You look really exhausted." And I was like, "Wow, okay." I was on a video call. I was in this type of scenario. I was sitting in front of my video machine. I'm like, wow, she picked up on, and I was tired. I was exhausted. I started very early that day, and so it's just one of the things that I keep in mind. It's like, okay, where is my energy? How am I showing up? And in a genuine way, in an authentic way. And it may be that I am don't have a lot of energy. But one story I wanted to share was we're in a really kind of dire situation right now. We have a lot of escalations with our customers, and even we were at the last conference. I think you guys saw I was being pulled a lot of different directions, and it's not getting better. And in the upper left there is the director who works for me, and he's my right hand man, and we get together and we almost start commiserating, where we bring each other down. And so it's been a great reminder where we start talking about, wow, it's not getting better. It doesn't seem like it's going to get better. And then I'm like, okay, I got to take a step back. It's like, look, it's going to get better. In my mind, I recognize this spiral we're going into, and I say, hey, I've got to lead right now. It's like, Don, we've got to take every action we can take to pull us out of this downhill spiral. And so just recognizing the emotions in the room, recognizing the sentiment, and leading through that, and encouraging the team to, hey, we can take actions, and the actions we take make a difference.
Hello?
Hello. Did we lose Dave?
Oh, no.
I think we lost Dave,
No.
yeah.
Man, it's that Cisco thing.
Ha,
Okay.
there he is.
There he is.
I'm back.
Wow,
Here.
Cisco, eh? That's Cisco thing.
Shoot.
We can hear you now.
So one of the examples I wanted to give with my son, our relationship and my parenting style is too authoritative, and the program and this scenario where I was authoritative, and then he would go back to the teenager, and our relationship wasn't great. But this,
Dave, can you hear it? You're breaking up quite a bit.
okay.
We see you fine, but you're breaking up.
Okay.
Try. There you are. Good.
That's better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So I went to my son and I asked him, what did he want to do? I was trying to figure out something we could do together as father and son. He said, I wanted to learn how to scuba dive. And so through the scuba diving, it's been great, where I've been vulnerable with him, where I've shared with him that I've been nervous or concerned about, the scuba diving trip or the dives that we're doing, and asking him to look out for me, and asking him to check in with me and make sure I'm doing okay. And it's been great. It's shifted the dynamic, and I've shifted from an authoritative type approach to more a consultative, coming alongside him. And I'm really excited for the next week we're going to spend together, where, I'll get to continue to build on, the relationship, and he and I connecting at a different level, more, in a different way. So, I mean, the last thing, I guess, 2 slides, but I'll go quickly through here. For intersection, one of the key things I'm focusing on is intersection. I have a tendency to want to bring my insights, and it's a fine line between shtick and purpose. And a lot of times I lose people where I come so strong with my point of view that they just shut down and they're not open to hearing me. So I've really been working hard on holding back, not, just listening, asking questions, holding back my point of view until I really have had a chance to hear out the other person, be genuinely curious, understand their point of view. And I've had a couple situations where I went into a meeting with a colleague, and just through questions and through dialogue and without ever expressing my point of view, we came to an agreement on a way forward, and I was 100% aligned with the way forward. And so intersection is a key one for me, and also asking questions in a way of using what, where, when, how, versus why, to really get the other person to think and share, their perspective and to come to an intersection. So the last thing is, we can't do this alone, and I just really appreciate Ron and Team W2 and how we've supported each other through the last 8 months, and just want to say thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. So let's open it up for some questions here or comments for Dave.
Good job, Dave. I think it's so powerful for you to recognize that balance between contributing and letting others have a voice too. So nice work on doing that.
The one thing, I don't really have a question. I just want to say to Dave, because he's heard me say it before, but I appreciate so much the relationship you have with your son and the effort you put into that. And teenagers are tough, and I think you're doing an awesome job, and he's going to turn around and be a great parent because of that, and you're having a huge impact on him.
Thank you, Mary.
Agreed. And Dave, I'll just add that I really like that you started your presentation with the appreciation piece and kind of acknowledge that it's something you're working on. I feel like on our calls, you're always very appreciative, and I guess it's cool that you're probably using that as practice. And hearing you kind of say it out loud that it's something you're working on, I think reminded me that I probably don't appreciate a lot of people in my life as much as I should. So thanks for the reminder.
You're welcome, Lane. Thank you.
David, you reminded me of a quote that I had read this morning by Soren Kierkegaard, and it was a reminder that you gave me that there is an element. It sounds so easy to be vulnerable and to jump right in, yet there's an element of courage and it's not for the faint of heart. And letting go is a scary place. And thank you for reminding us that this is a journey. And the quote is basically, to dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. To not dare is to lose oneself. So thank you for reminding us that the journey is really an extension of just a commitment and investment in sharing more of you with the world. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ron. I love that quote.
Is there, okay, so who would like to go next? And by the way, that was at around 12 to 13 minutes.
I was so worried I wasn't going to fill the time. Wow, it goes fast.
All right.
I'm happy to go.
Okay, thanks, Meg.
Okay, so I have to figure out how to, okay, I'm pulling up my presentation. Now what do I do, Melissa?
So along the bottom, you'll see a little icon that says share screen.
In your screen. Hang on. So share screen. And there's my presentation.
And yeah.
Okay.
And then
Is that working?
click, there you go. We see it.
Oh, great. Oh, okay, wait. I started at the end. Go to the top. Which I could follow Dave and start at the, oh, okay. Is it going to go to the top? There we go.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Melissa. And as Melissa knows, I'm a techno peasant. She's a techno serf, so she's one up from me. And so I have to admit, my daughter helped me with the graphics, and I have no photos of us on horses, so I apologize for that. So I looked at my I look at my purpose every day, you guys, every day, and it gives me a lot of strength and guidance. But the word guardian in there made me think of guardian angel, and I really have been thinking about this journey with Conversant as kind of a path to enlightenment for me. So in the beginning, there was shtick, and Daddy's little girl is this. Every time I hear it, it makes me kind of cringe. And I remember the first day at the Conversant course feeling like, I'm an imposter. How can I possibly be here? How can I contribute to these people? They're so far ahead of me. But here's an opportunity to improve as a leader, try and be committed to being curious and open and learning from others. So I kind of expected some interesting classroom learning, gain some tools for better meeting management, giving feedback. You know, you're kind of, I didn't know what I was headed into, and it was so much more than that. So there was light, and it really has been a change in a way of being for me. And I really feel like a different person, and I have tools at the ready now to help me deal with my shtick. And some of the aha moments for me were the bioreaction, and I've experienced this for a long time. I have anxiety, and I have to manage that. But I had sort of forgotten about how physical the bioreaction is, how debilitating it can be. And so the presencing for me, I think, was one of the most important things. The calm that it brings, the breathing, to those physical reactions, and to what John said about your heart rate coming down and your head clearing. I know when I get anxious, I get really dizzy, and so being able to get, the breathing going is what has really been helpful for me. And then the movement every morning. I found those few minutes that we spent in the kitchen or the dining room in the morning, moving and around each other, sometimes hilarious, but really just amazing to be able to move that way and feel alive. Shtick was one of the hardest things I've had to hear because it voiced every fear I have. It's true. It hit to the core of my being, and I realized that it really does hold me back, and it doesn't allow me to be the person I want to be. And then there was purpose, and it was one of the best things I've ever heard. And I felt so lucky to hear words like those used in reference to me. And I was saying to the guys, to the W2 team, I read through the comments that you all had. Lainey took great notes, and I read through the comments you all had about me when we were doing the purpose, and it was so encouraging, and it almost made me cry rereading it. Anyway, I have found trying to be in purpose has been the most helpful thing over the past 8 months. Since January, I guess, that we learned. And it really does give me courage in work and in my personal relationships. So sort of what does all this, enlightenment mean? And there are certain tools that I have found to be really, really helpful for me. Ron's helped me through a number of tough conversations around with my boss around managing our preparations for our board meetings, and our board is really tough. And so working through in advance on aligning on purpose and thinking about my concerns and circumstances, but also the boards and my bosses, has been really, really helpful for me. But it also helps me hone in on what commitments I'm willing to make and where I'm willing to put myself. And really being prepared to have real conversations with my boss and with our board. I think somebody else, John, maybe you mentioned listening to learn, and listen, part of my shtick is, being the chatterbox, and so listening to learn hadn't maybe been a skill that was at the ready for me, and I really try and focus on listening to what other people have to say and really taking time to focus in rather than, okay, what are they saying and how does that relate to me and what do I do next? Really just listening and not trying to think of the next thing. And then doing that has helped me, particularly with my team, help them find their path forward with tough issues, especially with some of our external partners, and really providing that guidance. But if I'm not in listening mode and I'm in what do I do next mode, I can't be helpful to them. The meditation, I've been doing it. I've downloaded an app and I'm doing it, and it's really helping with the daily stress and anxiety. My daughter's home from school and we've been doing it together, which has been really awesome.
2 minutes.
Okay, and then being in purpose is, I think, the thing that is giving me the most support, and I really focus on that every single day. And really, it's been helping me lead our board where we collectively want to go, which is kind of like we did with the horses. And then I can't see number 5 because I gotta how do I get rid of that little thing? Okay, I can't see how to get rid of that. So, oh, I know, this is the one. Ron and I had a conversation last week. I was so deeply into shtick, and it was agonizing. I was in tears a lot. I was ready to quit my job. And Ron said to me, you are complete in yourself. You're sufficient. You don't need, you as a person have what you need to do what you need to do. And I focused really heavily on that at the end of last weekend through the weekend. And the difference in how I feel and the difference that I've noticed people noticing me at work from being in shtick so heavily for the past number of weeks to sort of almost like coming out of a fog. I actually was able to, in the past week or so, really see what my purpose is in my job, and that it's like Dave, it's not to do everything, it's to guide other people in being successful. And it's made a huge difference. And Ron, you kept me from quitting my job last week, just so you know. So the promised land, what I promised to commit for the rest of my life is to focus on my purpose and really notice when my shtick is kicking in. Have faith in myself and others, practice the meditation, listen to learn and guide, breathe through the bioreactions, and remind myself how lucky I am every day to be here and be able to do these things. And then on the appreciation, and I do have so much to be thankful for. In particular, my boss, for really his commitment to the ways of conversant. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have even known that this path was available to me. And to my family, obviously, they encourage, but they also, they tease and joke me along, which helps. My office colleagues who really held down the fort, but I have to say, every time I came in with a new idea, they go, okay, here she goes. Let's see where this leads. And then, of course, the coaches. Every single coach has their own special gift, and I appreciate so much how you cared for us and looked after us and knew the right things to say and at the right time. And Ron, in particular, to you for your sage guidance and the fact that you don't let me feel sorry for myself and sit in my shtick. And then to my team, and you guys are amazing, all of you. And the fact that you can see me in a way that I don't see myself, or I am trying to learn to see myself, really made all the difference. So I want to thank you because you are really fantastic people, and I hope that we are able to stick together over the long haul. So, ta-da! Done.
Awesome. Great job, Meg.
How was my time, Ron?
This is Melissa. Just about spot on, Meg. Right on.
Wow.
That's
And
because my daughter did. Because I talked to you.
Nailed it.
It's hard to imagine Meg as the talker would actually do one of the best so far. So great job.
That's just my nervous, sticky side talking too fast.
Thanks for sharing that. And one thing that really helped me in what you said was the listening and the genuine listening, and not allowing the thoughts to come in of like, well, what does this mean to me? I think that's the way you put it.
Yeah.
I find myself in that mode when I'm listening and I'm just in my mind like, oh my gosh, you know what, this is going to be, I just start going through the list of what it means to me and how it's going to affect me, versus really genuinely listening and moving towards the best solution. So thank you. That really was helpful for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, Meg, it's Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
I love the way you set up this presentation, you know, in the beginning, and then there was light. I mean, it truly shows that journey that you went through. And I wrote down just these two words. It was one of your earlier slides where you said trusted guide. I think that's awesome. That is the position you see yourself in, and that you're comfortable with it, and that's where you want to be. I think it's fantastic. So congratulations.
Thanks, Jeff. I honestly, like the past week or so, it has never been more apparent to me that my shtick does not serve me well or anybody else. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Meg, I just want to, applaud you on the comment about being sufficient, and because you are so amazing and so sufficient, and I'm glad to hear you focusing on that. I think that'll take you a long way. So good job.
Well, and I thank Ron for that one. So.
Yeah, but it's you have to realize it. You have to live it. So
yeah,
it's inspiring, because we all suffer from am I sufficient abuse. So good job for bringing that into your presentation.
Thanks. Have we lost Ron? I feel like maybe our guide is missing.
I think he's on mute.
I was on mute, and
Oh,
you know what? I'm sitting there going, So yeah, I was unmuted. Yeah. Well, thank you, Meg. I do appreciate it wholeheartedly, and in fact that when you asked timing wise, I thought I responded, and I guess you didn't even hear my response. I said it was perfect for the time you took. And but and nobody, yeah, so I thought, oh, okay, maybe it didn't translate. But the other, I think the reason why this whole sufficiency thing resonates with probably not just a few folks, myself included, and many of us on the phone, is that I find myself just so locked up and just a prisoner in my own false thoughts of the way I view myself. And I love the fact that you are breaking out of not seeing yourself as a prisoner of that, which I think contributes to that anxiety that you talk about. And it's really looking at the freedom that gets provided for you when you play that guardian role. So thank you for sharing with us again, just how that path is so important, man.
Thanks,
Great,
Ron.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Ms. Laney.
All righty. Okay. Let me get my IT skills going here. Do you guys see horses yet?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, hold on.
And people too.
I was going to turn my video on. I just want to preface it that it may appear, if it works, that I'm sitting in a bed. And it is because I'm sitting in a bed on account of there's a little bit of construction going on in the home office today. So I'm in a spare bedroom. Okay, I just got to get the presentation over there. How's that?
It's beautiful.
There we go.
All right, so let's roll. So thanks everybody for joining. I think like everyone else, I am going to start this presentation with my purpose. And I've really decided yesterday that I'm going to focus the whole presentation on my purpose, but hopefully present it in a way that everyone else can, maybe find some new insights about your purpose too. And the reason behind that is that for me, the biggest part of Conversant has been finding this purpose, which I couldn't have done without the help of my team here. And then, just how do we continuously find ways that our purpose can motivate us to impact and influence the world around us? It's the biggest thing that's resonated with me, and I decided that's what I want to share. So we're going to hop right into it. So I wanted to start with at least just reading my purpose. We've all had a lot of learnings throughout this whole event. I'm going to read my purpose once at the beginning, but then I'm going to focus on a couple keywords and how they related to learning that I think is important to me and hopefully to all of us. So here goes it. Mighty spark of life, with calming fierce strength, my spirited wit gives voice to our collective stories, clearing the path to connected harmony. Rise up. So the first word I wanted to bring out is calming. Take us back to our days in September. And for me, calming triggers a lot of things in my mind, but the one that I'm focusing on remembering is that my presence in the room or in any room, while it's not always, the largest or the loudest, can still come across through facial expressions and body language. So taking a moment and practicing some what I would call Richard practice, and just breathe before you're going into some of those rooms that may be a little tense, can calm the mind and hopefully calm the room for the group. So that's my first piece. I'm gonna jump right into the next piece, which is strength. And strength means a lot of things. It can mean physical and mental strength, and I think I'm learning in those areas. I'm stronger than I think I am, which is awesome. But when it comes to my purpose, strength for me really means we're stronger together. So it's about bringing people together and knowing that the group as a whole is stronger together than any single person. We can do it. I don't know if my video is working, but if it is, I'm flexing a muscle.
Yeah, look at those guns.
Moving right through, this next one is voice. And voice to me is probably the most important part of my purpose, primarily because it's the most challenging for me. I think you all know I didn't start out in September as the loudest one in the group. And, there are times that I feel comfortable with friends or coworkers or family, and I still just decide in my head that it's not worth me sharing something. It's at a point in time that's on my mind. It's just not my natural state. And that's a stick move, thinking, what's the point? So over the past several months, I know I've been challenged by you guys and been trying to challenge myself to get over that. And how do I share more when it's appropriate? So this is one where even over the past week at work, we've since January had a lot of challenges with some new regional roles. Our department was split into two all of a sudden, into West and East. And it causes challenges, and it causes things that need to get fixed, and it may not be my place to fix it, but I could see a few instances over this past week where I've voiced my opinion on some things in the appropriate way, and I think they're starting to get attention. And I think to myself, what would happen if I didn't share those views? Well, obviously they would never come to attention, and now is the time to address these things. They may not be quite at point easy. We might be a little bit past that, but when I see the positive things that happen from sharing my voice, it's really exciting and motivating, and just helps me to know that I need to keep that up.
About 2 minutes, Lainey.
Thank you. So moving on to the next word I wanted to pinpoint is connected. And I think for all of us, a lot of our success goes back to connections. And for me, our company has been dealing with some trust issues amongst groups or different departments, like I'm sure a lot of us have. And I think a lot of it goes back to the connection piece. For me personally, as I was thinking about the trust factor yesterday and presenting to you guys, I'm reminded that some of this departmental split that I mentioned and me maybe having reservations or not trusting how this West group is controlling itself, it's really all going back to me not developing a strong connection with our new Western lead. And so I need to take it on as a challenge to strengthen that connection and find the time to do that so that some of these trust factor can disappear. So if you guys want to think of anyone that you may have a similar feeling for, it's just a reminder. And then moving on to the last part of my purpose, which is rise up. I'm just going to share a little story that was from this week. It kind of reminds me of something that Meg shared about her maybe last week. But my Tuesday was an incredibly rough work day. It was one of those no good, very bad, horrible days. And it probably didn't help that it was like a Monday on steroids, right? It's the Tuesday after Memorial Day for those of us that celebrate Memorial Day. So we had a 3-day weekend. Tuesday felt like a Monday. It was bad. But the second I came home and walked in the door, my husband had this huge smile on his face and he was cooking my favorite food. And at that point, I was like, what is wrong with me? Why have I been all day so frustrated and in this horrible mindset? And I wasted so much energy. I may have even wasted a tear at one point, which is very unlike me. So I went and took a shower and I started thinking about the folks that I was blaming my frustration on and what did they really need. I was reminded of you guys and a lot of Ron's coaching. I went to bed thinking of a bigger purpose and I rose up the same way on Wednesday. So this week has really turned around and I think it's all because I was taking it back to my purpose. So just to kind of close this before I give some thank yous, to me, this purpose is critical. You know, when we're having a bad day, when life is not easy, when the world is crazy, when I start shifting towards that mindset, I want to go remember my purpose and just find one word that day that can help me turn my mindset around that minute. It's the best motivation I could ask for. And I hope each of you can use your purpose as that motivation as well. So just to wrap it up, I wanted to thank Ron and Meg and John and Dave for helping me find this purpose. I couldn't do it without you. And then I want to thank our whole group. I know not everyone's here today. I wish I could thank each person individually, but everyone else, thank you. And, you know, it's great that we have this cohort as a support system to help us continue practicing what we've learned out of this program for life. So thank you guys. That's it.
That's great. Thank you, Lainey.
That was awesome.
So comments, thoughts, questions for Lainey?
Lainey, I love how you deconstructed your purpose and went back to everything that it meant. And every word of it is true about you. And I just so appreciate, especially your title, You Mighty Spark of Life.
Thanks, Meg.
I think Meg or Lainey, that was just a really cool story you shared of coming home and deciding, you know, that whole, you know, we have choices like Dave talked about, and you made a choice that you don't have to let those days impact you and drive you into shtick. So nice job of recognizing that. And I love the concept you talked about, what happens if we don't share a voice. And you have so much to share. I'm so glad to hear you recognizing that and pivoting on that. So great job.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, that was awesome. You kind of convicted me of like how do I keep my purpose more front and center? And I think we're so busy, and I had to go pull up my purpose and my shtick. I was like, okay, yeah, I can kind of remember. Do I have it memorized? So I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but I think there's probably a way I can. And through this exercise, I really appreciate Robin and Ron, you asking us to do this, because when I put something down on paper like this, it brings clarity to me. And so I think there's probably a way I can. I like your purpose with all those words called out. Like, I think that might be a cool thing for me to do, is kind of build my purpose like that, and some call outs or my key focus areas, and put that up on my wall as a reminder of what I need to be working on.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely really motivating just putting the PowerPoint together, over the past day. It was like, I am super positive and super motivated, and it's all because I kept coming back to this presentation. It's like, how do I do that every day? It's pretty cool.
Mm.
Very cool.
Mm. That's great. I just, Elizabeth would be joining us in voice right here, but she is currently in blow dry mode. And otherwise she would speak up. So, and she said, love to all of you and miss you all so much. So I just had that little voice in there for her. And
You guys, this is Robin. I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of you. What I loved about all of the presentations is, and maybe this is true most of the time, but how different they all were, and how your own voices, literally and figuratively, really came through in each of them. And I was able to have like a whole new experience of you again. It was really just fun and intriguing. And I loved how everybody really generated the value for each other on this call. So just thank you for what you did to sort of sponsor this, Ron, and for how everybody was here and really showed up for one another.
That's great. Yeah, I felt that way too, Robin. So let's just first of all, thank all of you, because it was a huge contribution. And because we've got the time, we normally end our times with a word or two words. I'm actually going to be very, very, very gracious and give up to a sentence, not a paragraph, but a sentence. Just either, just what are you taking away from today? And again, a sentence. But what are you taking away from today? And let's just, go around, because we don't have very many on the phone right now, so we've got the time and we can do this. So whoever wants to go first.
This is Rob. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, this is Robin. I'll go. I would say reconnect to purpose.
Yeah.
Ron, it's Jeff. I'm going to quote what Lainey said in one of the sessions when we were together at the ranch, and I carry it with me. Listening to learn versus, it's listening to learn versus listening to solve.
It's great.
I'll go with Meg. Oh, go ahead, John.
Okay. Mine is from Lainey's. I just love this "we are stronger together" piece. It's so powerful. So thank you for that.
I think for me, in my head, I hear all the time, let purpose be our guide.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I'm struggling to pull together, but focusing on purpose with genuine listening and courage of choice.
That's great. Thanks, Dave.
Nice. I'll go with positively feeding off of each other.
That's great. Melissa?
Inspired and privileged to have met you all and to hear your wonderful stories.
Thank you, Melissa, for all you do to pull things together. I'm Elizabeth. I don't know if you're able to speak.
She sent a note.
It's on the chat.
Empowering others through our purpose wins always. But she said so, and I'll just close things out. For me, you really all have sparked a renewed belief for me that life is truly meant to be lived free, unlocked and unleashed, and it is a choice. So with that, everybody, go and be. And thank you. So, all right, friends.
Happy trails, everybody.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good luck on your trip, Dave.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks, John. Appreciate it. We're going to have a great time.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.